Alright, let's go back after the long break and see where we stop. I think it was somewhere after Battler had the absolute, I don't know, gall to make this completely tactless remark towards George, saying, I don't understand why you're still single. Just after his fucking sooner or later to be wife got brutally murdered like Battler. Come on. Do you have any sense of, I don't know, a lot of things? Anyway, for the time being, I put aside, oh yeah, right. They were talking about, they were brainstorming about a lot about whether or not a 19th person existed or not. And this time I actually got some hot tea, in case I get very hoarse again. Hope that's gonna help a lot. Forgot to put honey in there, though, but didn't have the time. So for the time being, I put aside whether a 19th person existed and announced our theory that the goal of the culprit might have been to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph. Uncle Hideyoshi seemed to be extremely interested, but all Natsuhi said it was ridiculous and dismissed it.
Of course. If you think about it that way, even the letter from yesterday makes sense. The motive seems to fit pretty well with facts. Setting aside whoever it was that gave Maria-chan the letter.
Beatrice exists. Even though she was puffing up her cheeks in that cute way she'd been doing since yesterday, I couldn't think of it as cute. Well, not anymore, I guess. If I poked fun at her, it might suddenly transform into a creepy laugh. There is no hidden gold. However, if the culprit is blindly sure of its existence, and if they're trying to make us solve the riddle before snatching the gold away for themselves, then I will agree it makes sense. However, if that were the case, why would they start by killing those most highly ranked in the Yoshiromiya family?
I see your point. If they wanted to make us solve the riddle, killing those closest to Kinzo-san doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
I guess what I mean is because they might know more about the riddle and how to solve it. That's true enough. And if we're going with that argument, wouldn't it have been quicker to threaten Father in the first place? You'd think it'd be faster to just ask the person who wrote it, rather than try to force us to solve it.
You've got a point there. Still, I think it'd take more than your average threat to make Father spill the beans.
Yeah, I can see that, but I mean, I'm sure there are ways to make him talk. Just bring the portrait to him and threaten to slice it. Slash it with a knife or something, destroy it, burn it, rip it apart. I'm pretty sure that might actually make him talk. Or maybe he has like 100 more copies of it in his cupboard or something. So maybe, I don't know, who knows.
Anyone who knows Kinzo-san well will probably realize that he won't bow to ordinary threats.
He's the man who bears responsibility for the Yoshiromiya family and all his vast wealth. He's been exposed to many threats and attacks in the past. The family only prospers today because he was able to overcome all of them. That's freaking right. I can't even imagine our grandfather obeying someone because of a threat. Jessica, watch your language. Yes, Mom. In that case, what about this idea? No, wait. Is this one also way out there? Which idea? Let's hear it. I couldn't hesitate. Out there ideas are like bows and arrows. This time it's bow. Ha. It might be hard to hit with, but it's a great weapon because you can hit enemies far away. It's an interesting way of putting it. They say most people who've died in battles were killed by arrow wounds. In a battle, you can't just shoot off one arrow. You shoot a whole bunch of arrows at once, pushing forwards towards the enemy troops with a wall of them. Yeah, and like, the point is probably that a few of them will definitely hit. So keep shooting over and over. Create a wall as you push forwards towards the truth. If the culprit is after the hidden gold, forcing us to solve the riddle wouldn't be very efficient for them. It would be much quicker and easier to ask the person who made it in the first place. In that case, the question is this all a message directed at Grandfather? In other words, these murders were a threat made against Grandfather. If he didn't tell the culprit where the gold was, his family members would be killed off one by one. Yeah, but I don't see him caring about that. He's probably like, bitch, please go ahead. I don't fucking care. I hate all of them anyway. What if we were the only ones being forced to solve this riddle? What if grandfather was too? But wasn't he the one who wrote it? Then again, was that ever explicitly stated as a fact? Like maybe Beatrice gave it to him and he doesn't have any idea himself? If you think about it that way, it explains grandfather's mysterious disappearance. If the culprit has already attacked grandfather, then judging by the state the 6 corpses were left in, he should have been left on display somewhere with that horrible makeup added. But despite that, we still haven't found him. So does that mean grandfather has been kidnapped and is being held somewhere? How could? You aren't saying, how could? That sounds interesting. So grandfather is being confined somewhere, and the culprit saying will be killed off one by one if he doesn't tell them where the gold is? It pains me to imagine how you find that interesting. Aunt Natsuhi glared at her, but Aunt Eva just smiled calmly. Since we still haven't seen him after all this time, I think it's almost certain that grandfather's gotten caught up in the crime. If you think about it, you can't just ignore Balakon's theory, right? Be quiet, George. In the first place, when did father actually disappear?
Who was the last person to see father?
It was probably me. This morning, when we didn't know where my husband and the rest were, we discussed the possibility of them being in father's study, and I went to check his room and greeted him there. Come to think of it, I've been holding the key to his study this whole time, haven't I? Genji, let me return this to you.
Aunt Natsuhi pulled out the gold key and handed it to Genji. Looking at the key, Aunt Eva giggled.
Hey Genji-san, I'm sure the police will inspect father's room thoroughly. If there's anything hidden there, it'll just be exposed anyway, so maybe it'd be better if you just told us about it right here, right now.
What are you talking about?
It's simple. Father's study is a closed room with no way in or out except for that key, right? I want to verify whether that's true. There's one entrance to father's study. What about the window? Any other entrances or exits?
There are none. There's no way to get in except the entrance.
You sure about that? There isn't some secret hidden door or anything? Since father isn't here, I am the highest ranked member of the Ushiramiya family. I'm asking you as a representative of the Ushiramiya family head. Remember that when you answer me. Are there any ways in or out of that room other than the main entrance? As father's closest aide, I'm sure you would know.
Aunt Natsuhi looked a little offended at the part about the highest-ranked family member, but she kept her mouth closed for the time being and waited for Genji's answer. I couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. Why was she going on and on about hidden doors?
You too, Kanon-kun, Kumasawa-san. If you know, won't you tell me? If there is one, it'd be better if you said so. Otherwise, a certain person might be driven into a corner in a second.
Probably because, since Natsuhi was the last who had the key, and now he's gone, suspicion would fall on Natsuhi.
If we assume that there is a hidden door, then my argument comes to nothing.
Aunt Eva didn't specify which person was about to be driven into a corner, but following the flow of the conversation, I had to feel that she was referring to Aunt Natsuhi.
Mother, what are you talking about? George, stay quiet for a bit. What do you say? Genji-san, Kanon-kun, or Kumasawa-san? Is there a hidden door or not? Genji-san, when you remodeled father's study, you must have overseen the construction. I won't let you say you don't know. There is nothing like that in the master's study. You sure? What about Kanon-kun, one who's allowed to wear the one-winged eagle? That's right, I'm sure. There is no such hidden door in the master's study. Kumasawa-san? No, I haven't heard of such a thing. What about Dr. Nanjo? You've had a close relationship with father.
I have never heard of something like that.
Very well then. So are you ready? Let me begin. It's very simple.
Everyone tilted their head doubtfully, wondering what Aunt Eva was starting to talk about so proudly. Aunt Eva laughed triumphantly, as though she were about to reveal a secret only she knew.
Natsuhi-san was the last person to spot father, right? I forget the exact time, but I think it was a little before 9 in the morning. Nisan, do you remember? I ran into you just as you were coming out of father's study, right? Yes, I remember. What does that have to do with anything? And when was the next time you went to visit Father's study? That was after we found the bodies of Nissan and the rest, right? Together with me, you went up to the study to report that, and we discovered that he wasn't there. By the way, Nissan, at that time when you went to enter Father's study, did you notice anything? Notice anything? What are you talking about? Come on, you picked up some trash, right? A folded receipt. I do seem to remember picking up some trash. How is that relevant? I got that receipt when I bought some candy at a store before arriving at the airport. Aunt Eva pulled a small bag of candy out of her handbag. Oh, the receipt from that candy you bought back there. But Mother, what does that receipt have to do with anything?
George, stay quiet and listen for just a bit longer, for God's sake.
Uncle Hideyoshi's expression was a little strict. Yeah, I mean, I guess he keeps barging into the conversation even though they keep telling him to shut the fuck up. Apparently he understood what Aunt Eva was getting at. It really was just a whim. I definitely didn't foresee anything, or try to set up a trap for Natsuhi-san or anything like that. Actually, about that receipt. Nisa, you remember bumping into me right after the last time you saw Father, right? So, what? KY? At that time, I wedged this into the door to the study. So, what does that mean? She wedged it into... Kuki ga Yomenai. Yeah, I didn't know that abbreviation. Are you saying no one opened the door until Aunt Natsuhi picked out that receipt? Wait a second, Aunt Eva. Wedging a receipt in would be obvious. It's possible that when Grandfather opened the door, he noticed it, found it amusing, and stuck it back in the door. Jessica hurriedly argued back. She still didn't really know what this all meant, but she realized that whatever it was, it would raise suspicion about her own mother. Of course I folded the receipt up very small so that no one would notice it, but even if you assume that he saw it fall, he would have no way of knowing how high up the door it had been stuck, right? I checked it while Natsuhi-san was taking the key out. The receipt was still stuck, not 1 millimeter away from where I put it. I can't understand why you would pull such a childish prank. I'll bet you were the one who did that prank on the door to my room, too. The door to your room? It was unpleasant to talk about, so I never mentioned it, but when I woke up this morning, there were the signs of some prank on the outside of my door, with what was probably the same red paint that was scribbled across the shutter. There were some unpleasant marks as though someone had been tearing at the door. Patrick, yeah, Ewan. Wir diskutieren gerade wieder. Jetzt ist Natsuhi ein bisschen verdächtig. Wait, what's this?
Why do you keep quiet about this till now?
My apologies. Since so many horrible things have occurred since then, I had completely forgotten about it until this moment.
You just came home? What the hell were you doing? I mean, you're not even supposed to be at work. I hope nothing bad happened. Hope you're fine.
I don't know anything about that. I'm not talking about your door, but the door to Father's room, right? Between the time you confirmed that he was in his room and the time we confirmed that he wasn't, that door wasn't opened even once. How did Father get out if he didn't use the door? I don't know that. It's what I want to know.
Natsuhi-san, other than you, who else checked to see whether Father was in his room?
Last night, the last time I met Kinzo-san was when we were playing chess, so I was with him until just before dinner.
Who saw him after that?
I did. I gave him his dinner last night.
Yes, Shannon and I were with him.
So at that time, Father was still definitely in his room. However, Natsuhi-san, when you found out he was there, it looks like all ways in or out of the study were closed, right? But even so, you said you met with him this morning.
I don't understand why everyone has become so gloomy. Could someone please explain it to me?
But Father and Mother, are you saying that what Natsuhi says about meeting Grandfather this morning was a lie? Like hell she'd lie about that. Mom's guiltless. Why would she lie? Jessica, I keep telling you to watch your language.
Because of like hell? I wonder what she's saying in Japanese here. That's a good one. Wow, that's not so bad. I guess she has to be super polite all the time.
I'm telling you what your language. All at once, the whole room was in an uproar. Aunt Eva and Aunt Natsuhi confronted each other across the parlor table, with George confronting Jessica. What the heck's going on? Many people spotted him last night, right? But since this morning, the only one who claims to have seen father is Natsuhi Ne-san. Well, I wouldn't say spotted him last night. I mean, okay, I guess the servants did, but like he didn't open the door for most people, right? I mean, I'm not an English native speaker, but if I read spotted him, that kind of sounds to me like they actively saw him. But I mean, it's true that a lot of people talked to him through the door. It's also true that he didn't answer to everybody; he just ignored some of them. But whatever, I get what they're saying. And then there's that strange fact we learned from our receipt. So how can we connect these points together? But maybe a native speaker here can confirm that spotted him would also work for just talking to him through the door. Because, yeah, I don't think that many people saw him, like, literally lay their eyes on him, since he was in his study all the time and kept the door shut except for servants. Mostly. He did talk to Natsuhi. Aunt Eva urged everyone to imagine it. Sure, that receipt could become an important point, but I didn't know which other points to tie it to or how. If we try searching for the answer Aunt Eva probably wants, we'll find that Aunt Natsuhi lied and acted as though grandfather was in the room this morning. Has that fact been exposed by a whim of Aunt Eva's? Yeah, I mean, I'm not really bashing the translation. I was just wondering if you could use that or not for talking through the room. Whatever. I don't get it at all. Why would Mom have to lie? She had no reason to, right? But we did this. We did see the scene ourselves, right? When she checked on him. Was that the scene where he was so nice to her? That's what I want to know. But Jessica-chan, you can't be sure she had no reason to lie and say that grandfather was in the room? After all, you see it in mystery novels every now and then. The trick where people fake the time of death to create an alibi for themselves. What are you talking about? I've never heard of that. We still haven't found father yet, but it's pretty natural to assume he's already been killed. If that's true, there's no doubt we'll find his corpse soon. If, at that point, the time of death could be cleverly faked, Natsuhi Ne-san will be able to create an alibi. Do you understand? Everyone? This morning, when Aunt Natsuhi confirmed that grandfather was there, she lied and he was already dead at the time? And then she moved the body to some other location and tampered with it so that when we find it, we'll think he was killed just a second ago. That would make it possible for her to create an alibi, even just by staying with the rest of us. Then she could say, I heard someone screaming, dash over there and become the first to find the body along with everyone else. Is that what Aunt Eva is saying? Ridiculous. After all, detective novels are merely books for the purpose of entertainment. You can only think of such an indiscreet idea because you read them all the time. That's right. Even if she did try to fake the time of death a little, all that will be blown away in an instant once the police did their autopsy. That might have worked in the past, but do you really think that kind of trick would work in modern Japan? It doesn't make sense. You think so? This morning, when Dr. Nanjo looked at the corpses, he was only able to give a vague estimate of the time of death, right? Yeah, but like he's not a coroner, he's a normal doctor. Autopsy results are very easily affected by the environment and individual differences. Man, now I have to think of the Danganronpa case in that music venue. I forgot the name. It was something indecent. It was a titty twister or something. I think it was very. It was like a nod to From Dusk Till Dawn, but there was like somebody tampered with the temperature there to throw off the autopsy report. Wasn't it like that? I think it was. Anyway, wrong game. It's a very relative estimate. Yeah, also, I shouldn't say all that. It's kind of a spoiler for people who didn't play it yet, so just forget everything I just said. Sorry. It's a very relative estimate with an uncertainty for several hours. Was it the Titty Typhoon? Something like that. I think it was Titty Twister in From Dusk Till Dawn. And unfortunately, the police's scientific investigation will have to wait until tomorrow. It wouldn't be easy to measure the correct time of death so accurately, even in modern Japan. Isn't that right, Dr. Nanjo?
Examining a corpse is an extremely difficult task that requires both experience and instinct. I have heard that there is a very high chance of a mistaken diagnosis. I imagine it is very possible for a misreading of just a few hours to occur.
However, for an alibi, that's more than enough. It's an old trick. It's a trick that works well enough. Natsuine-san, it's not like we wanted to suspect you, okay? We just wanted to prove your innocence so we don't have to suspect you.
What is this innocence you want me to prove? This morning I definitely met with Father, and he told me to keep the one-winged eagle engraved in my heart. Are you denying that he said that too? I will certainly not permit that. So it was that discussion. I won't let you deny that Father said those words. Or maybe Father's body won't appear anywhere. Normally a person has to be missing for 7 years before they're officially dead. Wouldn't that be a clever way to extend Father's nearly finished life another 7 years and keep all of his wealth for yourself?
I don't think that's happened, but it is true that that would be a very clever way. Gotta say. Holy shit.
I can't let you get away with saying that. I can't let you get away with saying any more. I am Ushiromiya Natsui, and I'm gonna shoot you in the face. Though you do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle on my body, it is certainly engraved on my heart. What do you think you're saying to the wife of Klaus, successor to the head, and the one who will act as such in his place? What's this? Are you going to shoot me with that gun? Go ahead. If only you just shoot. You're just desperate because you can't think of a way out, right? Do it. Just try to obscure the truth with violence. You!
It wasn't like Natsuya had been actually holding that gun at the ready and threatening anyone. But as she was egged on by Aunt Eva, she did hold it at the ready. Unsurprisingly, once things got to this stage, Jessica and Genji-san tried to stop her.
Madam, please calm yourself.
Mom, you aren't lying, so there's no reason for you to listen to this.
Calm down, Natsu-san. All you've got to do is swear that Father definitely was in that room. Why are you getting so worked up?
That is correct. Natsui-san isn't lying. Shouldn't that be the end of it?
Then I want you to explain, how did Father manage to disappear from the room? The window was closed tight from the inside.
Oh. Okay. There was a... For those who can't see the chat, there's a hidden CG for the scene, and it was just linked in the chat. And you can see another angle of her pointing the shotgun at them.
The window was closed tight from the inside. The same is true for the door, right? This morning, if you really met with Father, then you must explain how Father disappeared from this unopenable door, closed room scenario. If you don't, that would mean you're lying after all, right? How far do you plan to mock me? If you want to argue back, go ahead. That's right, try explaining it right here, right now. If you do, I'll apologize for suspecting you. How did Father manage to get out from that closed room? I cannot explain and there's no need for me to do so. Really? Then let me explain it. Let's take the best parts from my perspective and yours and come up with a more friendly explanation. I believe what you said about Father still being in his room this morning. However, the next time the door was opened, Father wasn't there. You don't have any objections so far, right? I have no desire to hear anything more you have to say. Shut your frivolous mouth.
Oh, what is this now?
My reasoning goes like this, okay? I can confirm that on both occasions you were the only one to go through that door. And the receipt proves it. So wasn't the answer to the puzzle of how Father left the room? So what's the answer? The window. He was sent out the window. Natsui-san, you threw Father out of the third-story window of the study into the courtyard. Yeah. Madam, please endure it. Eva-sama, please stop this. After that, when you left and said you were going to check the doors and windows, you took Father's corpse, which had fallen in the courtyard, and hid it. That was probably when you took some measures to fake the time of death, right?
This ties in with the case regarding Klaus Nisan and the rest, and also the case regarding Beatrice last night. There's a really good chance we've got reason to suspect Natsui-san in all those cases. Normally I wouldn't want to say this, but now that it's out in the open, there's nothing else I can do. Please, Natsui-san, please explain how you can be innocent. Otherwise he can't help but suspect you.
Why me? Why must I, Ushirumi and Natsuhi, be insulted like this?
Now what? Looks like we've got everyone's views on record now. It's useless. Every time I read this stupid laughter from him, imagine him doing that with such a ridiculous voice. It's all useless, Aunt Eva.
What do you mean, useless?
Jessica looked up at me, hanging onto my every word. Aunt Eva's expression was confident as ever.
Useless, you say? What is? Battler-kun, tell me.
You're only convinced it was Aunt Natsuhi because you're only looking at the case from a single angle. It's not like I'm defending her, but that bluff of a checkmate isn't gonna fly. I think your reasoning regarding that receipt was passable. It's not a bad thread of logic. But I'd only give it a grade of 65 at best. Of what, 100? If this were an exam, that'd be bad enough to get you extra lessons in detention, right?
Oh my. Well, how do you think anyone could break through the door sealed by my receipt and make father disappear, other than by my theory?
It's true that your theory is an interesting one, and if you could say for sure that there was no way to make grandfather disappear, then you probably would be able to prove that the last person to see him, or Natsuhi, was guilty. However, since there still is a possibility she's innocent and these accusations are false, we can't be sure about that.
Then, Battler-kun, are you saying someone other than Natsuhi-san made grandfather disappear? It would be impossible for anyone else to do it. My receipt proved that right? After the first time she visited that study, and until the second time when we visited it together, the study was a perfect closed room, and when the seal was broken on the closed room, he was already missing. If that doesn't prove she's the culprit, what kind of trick could they have used?
Like I said, Aunt Eva, only 65 points. So let's try spinning the chessboard around, shall we? The question isn't how someone managed to make grandfather disappear from the outside. We should think about how grandfather disappeared from the inside. The door had the receipt stuck in it, so it couldn't have been used. He also couldn't have gone through the window because you can't lock it from the outside. And when Aunt Eva visited the study, she checked to make sure it was locked. So the window also wasn't used. Then what was? I don't see where this is going. I'm interested. At that point, the study really was a closed room. We have to accept this. Yeah, closed room mystery. Sorry. However, the study didn't remain a closed room forever. Once the seal created by the receipt was removed, it would be possible for someone to escape by the door. In other words, the question is not how Aunt Natsuhi made grandfather disappear. We need to think about how he was able to escape. Grandfather's study isn't an ordinary study. Oh, maybe he's proposing that he was hiding, and when they went in there, he somehow snuck past them. According to Genji-san, there's a toilet and a kitchen and even a bedroom, almost like a little house. For example, what if he was hiding under the bed, and the two of you only thought he was missing? Aunt Eva, even you didn't check that far, right? And then the two of you went back down the stairs, thinking he wasn't there. At that time, the receipt was already gone. In other words, if grandfather was hiding in his room the whole time, it was a closed room, and escaped after letting the two of you go past him, we can crack this closed room right open.
What are you talking about? Why would father need to escape the room in such a bizarre fashion? Don't be so absurd.
Yeah, it might be absurd. However, it still shows that there is a possibility Aunt Natsuhi is being falsely accused. Your receipt wasn't perfect. In chess, we might call it check, but it isn't checkmate. But the thing that really pisses me off is how you're pressuring Aunt Natsuhi to explain it, then claiming that she must be guilty if she doesn't. If you want to go down that road, then why don't you let me, Ushirumi Battler, spin the chessboard around one more time? Aunt Eva, according to your own argument, you must explain to us why you and Uncle Hideyoshi couldn't have killed those 6 last night and then casually returned to the guest house. Casually. Oops, I clicked on something. And the Umineko window disappeared. Okay, it's back. You've been trying to force Aunt Natsuhi to explain, so I'm sure you can prove your own innocence, right? Especially now that all of grandfather's wealth has suddenly plopped down right into your hands.
That's right, you're suspicious enough yourself, aren't you? If you say Mom's suspicious because she was the last person to see him, then what about you, Aunt Eva, the last person to see Dad and the rest? Just like Battler said, prove that you two weren't the ones who killed them. Mother, I also think your reasoning was a little overeager. I'm sure the receipt was an important hint. But, like Battler said, that's not enough to prove that Aunt Natsui was responsible for some plot. I like how his glasses just, like, suddenly didn't show his eyes anymore. We're all equally suspicious. It's not right for only Aunt Natsui to be persecuted. Our proud father, crawling under his bed. You call nonsense like that an explanation?
I don't know, proud? I mean, he was batshit insane most of the time I saw him, so I don't think him crawling under the bed is out of the question at all. I could totally see him do that. Maybe even with like some pants over his head and wearing a shirt for pants or something. Then again, he seemed fairly sane towards the end of, like before he disappeared. But yeah, calling him proud, I guess with the general picture you get of him, it makes sense to say you never would do that, but with the picture we got of him, it could make sense.
Who killed those 6 and how and... Then try showing us proof. In that case, why don't you explain first? Who killed those 6 and how? And then try showing us proof that you weren't involved.
Why is she coughing? What's going on? Holy shit. She just... What? Are you okay?
Milady.
Jessica suddenly started coughing. At first I thought she was just choking after yelling too loud, but before long I realized how painful it looked. Jessica kept coughing and choking down on her hands and knees.
Jessica, hang in there. Dr. Nanjo.
Jessica-san, your inhaler, quickly.
Oh.
No, wait, I have it. I have one with me.
Dr. Nanjo pulled a how the hell do you pronounce that? Bronchodilator inhaler from his own bag, which was lying on the sofa, and handed it to Jessica. Come to think of it, 6 years ago, didn't Jessica sometimes break into violent coughing fits and have to use that? However, 6 years ago I never saw Jessica look like she was in this much pain. Aniki, was Jessica's asthma always this bad? It's gotten a lot worse these last few years. It's no problem when she's normal, but when an attack comes suddenly, she can't stop coughing anymore. I'm not gonna do that now.
Milady, your medicine. Here.
Taking the inhaler from Kanon-kun, Jessica used it with a practiced hand. It looked like her throat would still itch for a while, but she had it under control. Are you okay, Jessica? You scared me.
It's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
Beads of sweat covered Jessica's whole body, and she couldn't hide her rough breathing, but it looked like her sudden attack had calmed down for now. This disturbance had made the dangerous atmosphere up until now seem slightly unfocused. But that's fine. That kind of battle of mutual suspicion is completely unnecessary. When you think about it, finding alibis for each other and looking for the culprit is probably meaningless. After all, we're just powerless, ordinary people, and when the police come tomorrow, they'll definitely employ cutting-edge techniques and investigate the case thoroughly, solving all of the riddles and arresting the culprit. Yeah, I don't think the police is going to show up anytime soon.
Perhaps Battler-kun is right after all. Just as Natsuhine-san is suspicious, I can't ignore the fact that I'm suspicious too. Arguing about that now will surely be unproductive. Everything will be fine if we just leave it to the police tomorrow. But don't you want to know too, Battler-kun, who the culprit is?
No, totally not. What kind of stupid question is that?
Don't you want to let them know the pain you feel from losing someone precious to you as soon as possible?
I won't deny that. Even one day would be too long to let the wonderful bastard who's behind this go. But that doesn't mean that I want to suspect one of the 18. Even though I said what I said earlier, I don't even want to suspect you, Aunt Eva. To me, you're an awesome aunt who's always fun and playful. I don't want to trade insults with an aunt like that.
I wouldn't want to do that with anyone here. Right? Everyone? I feel the same way as Batlakun. It's pointless to trade insults. It's probably just a stress build-up because so many people have been crammed in one place since morning.
Probably. It is only natural. It may not be my place to say it, but I think we should all relax as much as possible.
Ava, I think we'd better cool our heads too. The receipt's definitely a big clue for figuring out how father disappeared. We should tell the police about it when they come.
That's right. Right. I just felt a little triumphant when I figured out that part with the receipt. Of course it isn't fair to only suspect Natsuhine-san, right? We're just as suspicious. But still, Batlakun, at least the part about the receipt is real, okay? Don't forget it. And try thinking deeply about what it means one more time, okay? Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi stood up. It looked like they planned on leaving the parlor. In the end, it's pointless for us to keep playing detectives. After all, the police will reveal everything anyway.
Oh, will they? That's right. Even if we don't play this detective game, the typhoon will pass, and when those lively seagulls return to the harbor, everything will settle itself.
That's right. If you think about it, this kind of crime is completely trivial. Yeah, I don't know if I would call murdering 6 people and, like, mutilating their face a trivial crime, but... okay. It will definitely be resolved, even if we do nothing.
When the seagulls cry, Umineko no nakokoro ni.
Natsuhine-san, I take it you don't want to see my face anymore. I feel the same.
I thought it might be like some kind of apology, like she was hoping for her to say, no, it's okay, it's all good. But then she just says, I feel the same. But, well, what do I expect?
If I remember correctly, yesterday you had some rooms prepared for us in the mansion so that we wouldn't need to go back to the guest house, right? Those should each have a bath and a toilet as well as a lock and a chain to secure the door. There's even a bed to lie on, and my husband will be able to watch TV without having to fight with Maria-chan over which channel to watch, right? Do whatever you want, but make sure to be cautious. Thank you, Ne-san, and mind your own business. I'll be counting on you to keep an eye on everyone, okay? Because the culprit is definitely here. And Ne-san, make sure you don't forget to keep an eye on yourself too. Have you finished taking your parting shots? Yes, I'm finished. See you, Natsuhine-san. Kenji-san, let us know when it's time for dinner. Until then, we'll lock ourselves in with a chain.
One of them is gonna end up dead. I smell it. It's gonna be Hideyoshi.
Kenji, Kano, escort them to the guest room. We'll be fine. I hate shady escorts.
Oh, that was not nice.
In fact, I'd be more comfortable if nobody leaves this room until we reach ours. Let's go, George.
I was about to say, don't take him with you. I'll stay here with everyone.
George, the culprit is in this room. Do you plan on staying in a place like that? Leaving this room would be the same as suspecting one of my relatives. I can't believe anyone in our family is capable of something that horrible. George, darling, you tell him too.
George is already an adult man. If his code tells him not to leave this room, then it's up to him. Let him do what he wants.
Father. Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi left. The only voice that called after them was the sound of the rain. The parlor was being buried beneath the savage atmosphere. When I looked at the clock, I was surprised to find that it was already evening. Uh-oh. It's getting creepy again. Had we really spent that much time worrying about needless things, talking with each other, fighting with each other? Feeling bored, I started scratching at my head when, oh no, Maria and I made eye contact. Just for Christian.
Bam!
I was a little surprised, since I thought she was completely immersed in the TV. I believe it now. The letter, the murders, everything. It was all Beatrice. In fact, I almost feel like begging her to come out and take credit for it all. I want it to be the work of a 19th person. Otherwise, the 18 of us will have to keep on suspecting each other. I think believing in a 19th person is better than that. Bringing a grandfather outside without opening the doors or windows must be a piece of cake for Beatrice, right? Maria, after taking a single short breath, hung her head and then raised her face again. Oh no, it's that face again. Why did you do that, Peddler? Couldn't you just leave her alone?
That's right. Locking your doors, useless against a witch. Beatrice is familiar with all
72 demons? How many are there?
The 33rd ranked Garb gives the power to instantly carry the desired person to any location. To her, taking a person out of any closed room isn't hard at all, you see.
Witches sure are incredible. Tell her if she feels like committing another crime, to do it in a way that no human could. And make me believe that a 19th person, no, a witch exists. Oh, dude, you should be careful what you wish for. I don't... Now he's done it. Now he's cursed us all.
Okay, if I meet her, I'll tell her.
Bettler, it's your fault. Something absolutely horrible is gonna happen. Crap. Nothing's made sense to me for a while now. Just when I want to believe in a 19th person, I deny it. And just when I want to believe there are only 18 people, I deny that too. Even though I want there to be more than just the 18 people here, I can't accept the existence of that 19th person. In short, even though there are more than 18 people, there are less than 19 people. The number of people in this mansion is 19, is bigger than X, is bigger than 18. So the number of people can't be represented by an integer. However, it's impossible for there to be anything after the decimal point. You shouldn't be able to show the number of people with anything but an integer. And yet, 19 is greater than X is greater than 18. How do you explain the fraction less than 1? It's no wonder that 19th person was something that couldn't be seen. That's why, since you can only write the number of people as an integer, you couldn't see that person. That witch cannot be seen, because Beatrice has no body. Therefore, she is invisible. Is there a 19th person or not? Does the witch exist or not? 19 is greater than X is greater than 18. The witch exists somewhere in that X. What time is it now? Oh god, 7.